so much for finding out time to do this interview.
Thank you.
So my first question to you is, foreign policy is largely being seen, has been seen as a subject which is very sophisticated, perhaps academic, and requires a lot of knowledge, a lot of reading before to understand any concept or subject for that matter. But Prime Minister Saab has declared it on a very first day that it should be a Jan Bhagidari wala G20. You know, and perhaps the entire outreach and the way the events took place in various cities and the involvement of people. First of all, I would like to break down for you, I want you to break down for our viewers that when Prime Minister says that it is a Jan Bhagidari wala G20, then how a common man is going to be benefited, how a common man is going to be affected, and how it has perhaps got everybody on under the one room, under one roof when it comes to G20. If you can elaborate.
So first and foremost, when G20s are held, they are held in different countries in one city or two cities.
Okay. Okay.
G20 is not like a World Cup cricket for 15 days or World Cup football for 21 days. It is through the year.
Yes.
So Prime Minister, who's the leader of G20, felt that this should be people's presidency.
Yes.
This should be fully a Jan Bhagidari of the people of India.
Okay.
Therefore, he said that you please take it to every state of India. That meant that we have taken it to every state and to almost 60 cities of India.
Okay.
We used this opportunity to improve the infrastructure, drainage, sewage, solid waste, everything, so cities were improved. Secondly, we took it to every single school and college of India,
yes.
Every single child of India.
Yes.
For the first time, foreign policy of India, diplomacy of India, G20 of India was taken to every single child. They asked questions, they did model G20s, they did essays, contests, everyone was involved.
Yes.
This became a citizens' movement. The G20 in India has been a citizens' movement through social media, through participation, through a number of engagement groups.
Okay.
All engagement groups have involved the people of India in everything they have done. The Civil 20, the Youth 20, the Business 20, all of them have involved the citizens of India.
Okay. Sir, my next question to you is that the Sherpa word is something which excites everybody of us, because whoever is following G20 gets to know about your movement, that Sherpa is doing this meeting, Sherpa is meeting him. So if you could break it down for our viewers, what is the role of Sherpa, and what are the responsibilities of Sherpa?
So Sherpa is a Nepali word, as you know.
Yeah.
And Sherpa is the trusted guide to take the leader to the peak of the Mount Everest.
Okay.
So for G20, every country has a Sherpa.
Okay.
And every Sherpa is supposed to be the assistant to his leader, to be a guide to take him up on top of the peak. So my attempt only has been to assist my leader, who's the Prime Minister of India, to support him to reach the peak. That has been my attempt. And our attempt has been through the content side. That is, how do you prepare for what the Prime Minister said? How do you make it inclusive, decisive, ambitious, and action-oriented? That is what the Prime Minister wanted. My job has been to bring that ambitious agenda, work with 20 countries plus 9 other invited countries, 29 countries and all the international organizations, 43 in all, to bring a consensus. To bring everybody on consensus, that is a tough job, because different countries are at different stages of development. And therefore, they have different national ambitions and goals. To bring everybody together to a common consensus is the most challenging task. But India has been able to push a very ambitious agenda.
Yeah. Sir, also we are right now at G20 Secretariat. The entire Secretariat has been given a facelift. if you could break it down for viewers, what is the importance of Secretariat? Is it a symbolic building, or do we have some control room kind of a setup? What sort of teams are working day and night to perhaps, as you mentioned, working in the backdrop to build consensus, to know what other countries want? If you could break it down for our viewers.
So right now there are huge negotiations. Behind every ministerial, there are 4 rounds of negotiations that take place.
Absolutely.
So that all is negotiated. That means what India did was to give tasks to different ministries. There is the Sherpa track, there is the finance track. In Sherpa track, there are 13 tracks, 8 tracks in the finance group. In addition to this, there were 11 engagement groups. So engagement groups' job is to mobilize civil society. But working groups, different ministries worked on them. And then their inputs come to the Sherpa track, and we work in partnership with the ministries. Our officers also collaborate with them. And that has come now, and all the documents are being negotiated at the Sherpa level. For the last 20 days, we are negotiating every day from 2 p.m. in the afternoon to 2 p.m. in the night. Every day, every word is contested, every word is fought for, and it's a very, very complex job, but it's an interesting job to bring everybody on a consensus level.
Sir, PM or perhaps India is positioning itself as a leader of Global South. We are raising concerns of the Global South. If you could explain the definition of Global South and how India is raising the concern, or how India is becoming or trying to become the voice of Global South, if you could throw some light on that.
So that's the most important thing, because when the presidency started, the Prime Minister had a meeting with all the leaders of the Global South, 125 leaders. And when we say Global South, we mean all developing countries, emerging countries, less developed countries, all of them get involved. 125 countries, he heard them out. And he looked at their priorities, and those priorities became our priorities. And those priorities are about strong, sustainable, inclusive, balanced growth. Not just growth, but strong, sustainable, balanced, inclusive growth. They are about accelerating the pace of sustainable development goals, because education, health, literacy, nutrition, all this is very important. They are about climate action and climate finance, because the developed world has to provide adequate finance, and the developing countries are the worst affected because of climate action, so they need more resources. Fourthly, the reform and the redesign of the multilateral financial institutions, because they were created in the post-World War II period. That period, the crisis of climate action and SDG was not there. Today, you need a lot of resources. You need about $5 trillion resources. There's no shortage of funds, but how to mobilize that? We need the assistance of multilateral institutions through new instruments like blended finance, credit enhancement, etc. And then technological transformation and digital public infrastructure. How to use the model of digital public infrastructure which India has built up to be able to lift people above the poverty line, and to provide huge technology so that they are able to get identity, digital identity, they are able to do banking, and they are able to do fast payments, and they are able to use it for many other purposes like health and education. And lastly, PM's own priority, Prime Minister's own priority of women-led development, and how women empowerment and gender equality will raise the world. Because one study by World Economic Forum says that it will take 132 years to bring gender parity. We do not have 132 years. We have to do it in the next decade. And therefore, women bridging the gender divide, providing education, all that is very critical.
Sir, in one of the meetings, a country objected to this motto of the slogan of Vasudev Kutumbakam, India using Vasudev Kutumbakam as a motto: one earth, one family, one future. How are we going to build consensus on that? Point number one. Point number two, when a country objects to this motto, how do you see this? Like, what is your take on that?
No, our motto is Vasudev Kutumbakam. Our motto is one earth, one family, one future. We have done our presidency under this motto. We have done it under one earth, one family, one future. And we will convince everybody and take it forward.
China says that it is taken from Sanskrit, and Sanskrit is not the official language.
They may say that, but it is the job of the Sherpa to convince them and take it forward.
You're confident you will convince them?
No, we are negotiating and we are quite hopeful.
Okay.
It is our motto, it must find a place in our presidency, during our presidency. Our motto will find a place.
Okay. Sherpa sir, Para 3 and Para 4 were objected by China and Russia during the foreign ministers meeting, and in fact in the meetings which largely took place post that. Can we see some sort of a joint statement coming? I'm sure your team is working to build consensus, but if you could tell that to what percentage the work has been done, and will India be able to give a leader's statement, joint statement? Can we expect that?
So, Para 3 and 4 in Bali were there because of the war in Ukraine. If you look at it, in our presidency, we've been ambitious.
Okay.
War is not our creation. India has nothing to do with it.
That's in Europe.
And developing countries have nothing to do with it. So India's presidency took a conscious call that we'll drive developmental agenda. We'll bring the developmental issues. What concerns us? Concerns us are issues of women empowerment, of women-led development, or issues of technology development, issues of sustainable growth, issues of SDGs. All this we have brought center stage. You would have seen Prime Minister's addresses during the ministerial conferences. All of them are developmental oriented. So we will put them center stage, and that has been our priority during our Leaders Summit.
Also, Sherpa sir, the inclusion of African Union, it has been proposed by India. How do you look at it, and do you see that other countries will also come on board to support the inclusion of African
The
Union?
Prime Minister has written to every leader to become a part, to ensure that African Union becomes an integral part of G20. And this is important because our G20 presidency has to be inclusive. And with African Union coming in, you will add about 55 countries of Africa. Their voice will get added to G20. G20 will get more strength. And largely, all leaders across the world have supported it. This issue is under discussion. After the Leaders Summit, you will get to hear about it.
So, very last question. When we say, in fact, when we write on foreign policy and invent, the other foreign policy experts also say this, that India has been made to walk a tightrope when it comes to building consensus, because this G20 is happening at a time when we are in the recovery stage post-COVID, then the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. What are you experiencing? Because there's a huge responsibility on your shoulder, on your team's shoulder. What are you experiencing? And are you, when you say India is made to walk a tightrope, I am asking you, are you experiencing that you're walking a tightrope, building consensus between the West and the other bloc?
So all negotiations are like walking a tightrope. So when you're negotiating with 29 countries, 20 plus 9 invited countries, it is a tightrope. You have to bring everybody around. But we have to do it with positivity. We have to do it with optimism. We have to do it in a balanced manner. We have to bring everybody along to a common ground. That is what our attempt has been. We have done everything in good faith.
Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to CNN. Thank you.